Greetings and salutations, and happy Valentine's Day. Welcome to Fireside Tales, episode number 67. Let's see who is in the chat. I see my mom is already talking about a Bengal who was the couch shredder. Was that... I named him too after a TSR character, right? Hello, Jeremy. Hello, Anna. Hello, Kathy B. Hello, Christina Darling. Happy Valentine's Day. Meg Sampson, hi. Anna Gianavola. Craig Jackman. Let's see. Angelica Bolschweiler. Hello, Dari. So, we've got... I'm going to try to do two stories, two Winnie the Poohs this evening. And so I'm going to just jump right in. Hello, Jeremy. Did I say hello, Jeremy? I'm just going to jump right in to the first story, quick as possible. Will you shut that all the way, please? All right. Is there going to be any poetry? We won't have time for poetry this evening. Hello, Malika. Lovely to see you. All righty. So, yeah, we're going to get to at least one new character this evening. This is Winnie the Pooh. Chapter 7. Winnie the Pooh by A. Milne. Chapter 7, in which Eeyore has a birthday and gets 2 presents. Eeyore, the old grey donkey, stood by the side of the stream and looked at himself in the water. Pathetic, he said. That's what it is. Pathetic. He turned and walked slowly down the stream for 20 yards, splashed across it, and walked slowly back on the other side. Then he looked at himself in the water again. Here's a thought, he said. No better from this side. But nobody minds, nobody cares. Pathetic. That's just what it is. There was a crackling noise in the bracken behind him, and out came Pooh. Good morning, Eeyore, said Pooh. Good morning, Pooh Bear, said Eeyore gloomily. If it is a good morning, he said, which I doubt, said he. Why? What's the matter? Nothing, Pooh Bear, nothing. We can't all, and some of us don't. That's all there is to it. Can't all what? Said Pooh, rubbing his nose. Gaiety, song and dance. Here we go round the mulberry bush. Oh, said Pooh. He thought for a long time, then asked, What
mulberry bush is that?
Bonhomie, went on Eeyore gloomily. It's a French word meaning bonhomie, he explained. I'm not complaining, but there it is. Pooh sat down on a large stone and tried to think this out. It sounded to him very much like a riddle, and he was never very much good at riddles, being a bear of very little brain. So he sang Cottleston Pie instead. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. A fly can't bird, but a bird can fly. Ask me a riddle, and I reply. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. That was the first verse. When he had finished it, Eeyore didn't actually say that he didn't like it, so Pooh very kindly sang the second verse to him.
Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. A fish can't whistle and neither can I. Ask me a riddle and I reply. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie.
Eeyore still said nothing at all, so Pooh hummed the third verse, quietly to himself.
Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. Why does a chicken? I don't know why. Ask me a riddle and I reply. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie.
That's right, said Eeyore. Sing. Tiddly too. Here we go, gathering nuts in May. Enjoy yourself.
I am,
said Pooh. Some can, said Eeyore.
Why? What's the matter?
Is anything the matter?
You seem so sad, Eeyore.
Sad? Why should I be sad? It's my birthday, the happiest day of the year.
Your birthday?
Said Pooh in great surprise. Of course it is, can't you see? Look at all the presents I've had. He waved a foot from side to side. Look at the birthday cake. Candles, pink sugar. Pooh looked, first to the right and then to the left.
Presents?
Said Pooh.
Birthday cake?
Said Pooh.
Where?
Can't you see 'em?
No.
Said Pooh. Neither can I. Said Eeyore. Joke, he explained. Ha ha. Pooh scratched his head, being a little puzzled by all of this.
But it really is your birthday?
He asked. It is.
Oh, well, many happy returns of the day, Eeyore.
Many happy returns to you too, Pooh Bear.
But it isn't my birthday.
No, it's mine.
But you said many happy returns.
Well, why not? You don't always want to be miserable on your birthday, do you?
Oh, I see,
Said Pooh. It's bad enough, said Eeyore, almost breaking down. Being miserable by myself, what with no presents and no cake and no candles and no proper notice taken of me at all. But if everybody else is gonna be miserable too. This was too much for Pooh.
Stay there,
He called to Eeyore as he turned and hurried back home as quickly as he could, for he felt that he must get poor Eeyore a present of some sort at once, and he could always think of a proper one afterwards. Outside his house he found Piglet, jumping up and down, trying to reach the knocker.
Hello, Piglet.
he said.
Hello, Pooh.
Said Piglet.
What are you trying to do?
I was trying to reach the docker.
Said Piglet.
I just came around.
Let me do it for you.
Said Pooh, kindly. So he reached up and knocked at the door.
I've just seen Eeyore,
He began.
and poor Eeyore is in a very sad condition because it's his birthday and nobody has taken any notice of it, and he's very gloomy. You know what Eeyore is, and there he was, and what a long time whoever lives here is answering this door.
And he knocked again.
But, Pooh,
Said Piglet.
this is your house.
Oh,
Said Pooh.
so it is.
He said.
Well, let's go in.
So in they went. The first thing Pooh did was to go to the cupboard and to see if he had quite a small jar of honey left. And he had. So he took it down. Still a little taken aback at Pooh knocking upon his own door.
I'm giving this to Eeyore
He explained.
as a present. What are you going to give?
Couldn't I give that too?
Said Piglet.
From both of us.
No,
Said Pooh.
that would not be a good plan.
All right, then. I'll give him a balloon. I've got one left from my party. I'll go and get it now, shall I?
That, Piglet, is a very good idea. It's just what Eeyore wants to cheer him up. Nobody could be uncheered with a balloon.
So off Piglet trotted in the other direction, went Pooh with his jar of honey. It was a warm day, and he had a long way to go. He hadn't gone more than halfway when a sort of funny feeling began to creep all over him. It began at the tip of his nose and trickled all through him and outside at the soles of his feet. It was just as if somebody inside him was saying, "Now then, Pooh, time for a little something,"
Dear, dear,
said Pooh.
I didn't know it was as late as that.
So he sat down and took the top off his jar of honey.
Lucky I brought this with me.
He thought.
Many a bear going out on a warm day like this would have never thought of bringing a little something with him.
And he began to eat.
Now, let me see.
He thought, as he took his last lick of the inside of the jar.
Where was I going? Oh, yes, Eeyore.
He got up slowly, and then suddenly he remembered. He had eaten Eeyore's birthday present,
Bother.
said Pooh.
What shall I do? I must give him something.
For a little while he couldn't think of anything. Then he thought,
Well, it's a very nice pot, even if there's no honey in it. And if I washed it clean and got somebody to write a happy birthday on it, Eeyore could keep things in it, which might be useful.
So, as he was just passing the 100-acre wood, he went inside to call on Owl, who lived there.
Good morning, Owl.
He said. Good morning, Pooh, said Owl.
Many happy returns of Eeyore's birthday,
Said Pooh. Oh, is that what it is?
What are you giving him, Owl?
What are you giving him, Pooh?
I'm giving him a useful pot to keep things in, and I wanted to ask you.
Is this it? Said Owl, taking it out of Pooh's paw.
Yeah, And I wanted to ask you, what was it?
Somebody has been keeping honey in it, said Owl.
You can keep anything in it,
Said Pooh earnestly.
it's very useful like that. And I wanted to ask you,
You ought to write a happy birthday on it,
that was what I wanted to ask you,
said Pooh.
because my spelling is wobbly. It's good spelling, but it wobbles, and the letters get in the wrong places. Would you write a happy birthday on it for me, Owl?
It's a nice pot, said Owl, looking at it all round. Couldn't I give it two from both of us?
No,
Said Pooh.
that would not be a good plan. Now, I'll just wash it first, and then you can write on it.
Well, he washed the pot out and dried it, while Owl licked the end of his pencil and wondered how to spell birthday. Can you read, Pooh? He asked a little anxiously. There's a notice about knocking and ringing outside my door, which Christopher Robin wrote. Could you read that?
Christopher Robin told me what it said, and then I could read it.
Well, I'll tell you what this says, and then you'll be able to. So, Owl wrote, and this is what he wrote. Hippie, Pappy, Thut Hadda, Bethuthadi. Pooh looked on admiringly. I'm just saying a happy birthday, said Owl carelessly.
It's a nice long one,
Said Pooh, very much impressed by it. Well, actually, of course, I am saying a very happy birthday with love from Pooh. Naturally, it takes a good deal of pencil to say a long thing like that,
Oh, I see,
said Pooh. While all this was happening, Piglet had gone back to his own house to get Eeyore's balloon. He held it very tightly against himself so that it shouldn't blow away, and he ran as fast as he could so as to get to Eeyore before Pooh did, for he thought that he would like to be the first one to give a present, just as if he had thought of it without being told by anybody. And running alone and thinking along how pleased Eeyore would be, he didn't look where he was going, and suddenly he put his foot in a rabbit hole and fell down flat on his face. Thunk! Bang! Piglet lay there, wondering what had happened. At first, he thought that the whole world had blown up, and then he thought that perhaps only the forest part of it had, and then he thought that perhaps only he had. And he was now alone in the moon or somewhere and would never see Christopher Robin or Pooh or Eeyore again. And he thought, well, even if I'm in the moon, I needn't be face downwards all the time. So he cautiously got up and looked about him. He was still in the forest. Well, that's funny, he thought. I wonder what that bag was. I couldn't have made such a noise just falling down. Where's my balloon? What's this small, damp piece of rag doing? It was the balloon. Oh, dear, said Piglet. Oh, dearie, dear. Well, it's too late now. I can't go back, and I haven't another balloon, and perhaps Eeyore doesn't like balloons so very much. So he trotted on, rather sadly now, and down he came to the side of the stream where Eeyore was, and called out to him.
Good morning, Eeyore!
Shouted Piglet. Good morning, little Piglet, said Eeyore. If it is a good morning, he said, which I doubt, said he. Not that it matters anyway, he said.
Many happy returns of the day,
said Piglet, having got now closer. Eeyore stopped looking at himself in the stream and turned to stare at Piglet. Just say that again, he said.
Many happy...
Wait a moment. Balancing on 3 legs, he began to bring his 4th leg very cautiously up to his ear. I did this yesterday, he explained as he fell down for the 3rd time. It's quite easy, so as I can hear better. Yep, that's done it. Now, then what were you saying? He pushed his ear forward with his hoof.
Many happy returns of the day,
said Piglet again. Meaning me.
Of course, Eeyore.
My birthday.
Yes.
Me. Having a real birthday.
Yes, Eeyore, and I brought you a present.
Eeyore took down his right hoof from his right ear, turned round, and with great difficulty put up his left hoof. I must have that in the other ear, he said. Now then.
A present,
said Piglet very loudly. Meaning me. Again.
Yes.
My birthday. Still.
Of course, Eeyore.
Me going on. Having a real birthday.
Yes, Eeyore, and I brought you a balloon.
Balloon? Said Eeyore. Did you say balloon? One of those big colored things you blow up? Gaiety, song and dance, here we are, and there we are.
Yes, but I'm afraid... I'm very sorry, Eeyore, but when I was running along to bring it to you, I fell down.
Oh, dear, dear. How unlucky. You ran too fast, I expect. You didn't hurt yourself, little Piglet.
No, but Eeyore, I burst the balloon.
There was a very long silence. My balloon, said Eeyore at last. Piglet nodded. My birthday balloon.
Yes, Eeyore,
said Piglet, sniffing a little.
Here it is, with many happy returns of the day.
And he gave Eeyore a small piece of damp rag. Is this it? Said Eeyore, a little surprised. Piglet nodded. My present. Piglet nodded again. The balloon.
Yes.
Thank you, Piglet, said Eeyore. You don't mind my asking, he went on, but what color was this balloon when it was a balloon?
Red?
I just wondered. Red, he murmured to himself. My favorite color. How big was it?
About as big as me.
I just wondered. About as big as Piglet, he said to himself sadly. My favorite size. Well, well. Piglet felt very miserable and didn't know what to say. He was still opening his mouth to begin something and deciding that it wasn't any good saying that when he heard a shout from the other side of the river, and there was Pooh.
Many happy returns of the day,
called out Pooh, forgetting that he had said it a few times already. Thank you, Pooh. I'm having them, said Eeyore, gloomily.
I brought you a little present,
said Pooh excitedly. I've had it, said Eeyore. Pooh had now splashed across the stream to Eeyore, and Piglet was sitting a little way off, his head in his paws, snuffling to himself.
It's a useful pot,
said Pooh.
Here it is. And it's got a very happy birthday with love from Pooh written on it. That's what all the writing there is. And it's for putting things in. There.
When Eeyore saw the pot, he became quite excited. Why, he said, I believe my balloon will just go into that pot.
Oh, no, Eeyore,
said Pooh.
balloons are much too big to go into pots. What you do with a balloon is you hold the balloon.
Not mine, said Eeyore proudly. Look, Piglet. And as Piglet looked sorrowfully around, Eeyore picked up the balloon with his teeth and placed it carefully in the pot, and picked it out again and put it on the ground, and then picked it up again and put it carefully back.
So it does,
said Pooh.
It goes in.
So it does.
Said Piglet.
And it comes out.
Doesn't it? Said Eeyore. It goes in and out like anything.
I'm very glad,
said Pooh happily,
that I thought of giving you a useful pot to put things in.
I'm very glad,
said Piglet happily,
that I thought of giving you something to put in a useful pot.
but Eeyore wasn't listening. He was taking the balloon out and putting it back in again, as happy as could be. And didn't I give him anything? Asked Christopher Robin, sadly. Of course you did, I said. You gave him... Don't you remember? I gave him a box of paints to paint things with. That was it. Why didn't I give it to him in the morning? You were so busy getting his party ready for him. He had a cake with icing on top, and 3 candles, and his name in pink sugar, and... Yes, I remember, said Christopher Robin. The end of chapter 7. Okay. I love that one. I love all of these, really. Let's take a quick glance and see who is here in the chat that wasn't here previously. Hello, Aaron Powell. Hello, Melissa Catano. My letters are wobbly, generally spelled and punctuated correctly, but almost ill. I love how Pooh describes my spelling is good, but the letters are all wobbly and they're usually out of order. And when he first sees Piglet knocking on a door, and he just kind of like suddenly just sort of forgets that it's his own front door, and so he decides he's so helpful and so dumb, he goes like to help Piglet just knock on the door. Hello, Kelsey Blaine Gibson. Hello, Christy Davila, Zachary White. Yo, yo, yo. Yeah, Aaron Powell, how very, very zen of you. So many desires lead to so many disappointments. Poor Eeyore. Yeah, life is actually quite pleasant when you can deal without all that expectation stuff. One of those things I have to figure out myself, remind myself quite often. Yeah, having too much fun with this indeed. So, we're going to go right into a second story. We're going to do just 2 of these tonight. They're both slightly longer than average. And if anyone had any doubt as to the species of Kenga or Roo, we're about to find out very specifically what these new local denizens of the 100-acre woods may or may not be. I'll give you a hint. They're not wombats. They're also not Quakers. Well, moving right along. Been working on me Aussie for this one. A few days now. Really liking this one. I think I like the voice a lot better than Christina likes hearing it. Regardless. Chapter 7 of Winnie the Pooh by A. Milne, titled In Which Kanga and Baby Roo Come to the Forest and Piglet Has a Bath. Nobody seemed to know where they came from, but there they were in the forest, Kanga and Baby Roo, when Pooh asked Christopher Robin,
How did they come here?
Christopher Robin said, Oh, in the usual way, if you know what I mean, Pooh. And Pooh, who didn't, said,
Oh.
Then he nodded his head twice and said,
In the usual way. Ah.
Then he went to call upon his friend Piglet to see what he thought about it. And at Piglet's house, he found Rabbit. So they all talked about it together. It's the usual way. How does anyone get here? What I don't like about it is this, said Rabbit. Here we are, you, Pooh, and you, Piglet, and me, and suddenly...
And Eeyore.
Said Pooh. And Eeyore, and then suddenly...
And Owl.
Said Pooh. And Owl, and then all of the sudden...
Oh, and Eeyore.
Said Pooh.
I was forgetting him.
Here we are, said Rabbit very slowly and carefully. All of us, and then suddenly we wake up one morning, and what do we find? We find a strange animal among us, an animal of whom we have never even heard before, an animal who carries her family about with her in her pockets. Suppose I carried my family about with me in my pocket. How many pockets should I want? 16, said Piglet. 17, isn't it? Said Rabbit. And one more for a handkerchief. That's 18. 18 pockets in one suit. I haven't time. There was a long, thoughtful silence, and then Pooh, who had been frowning very hard for some minutes, said,
I make it 15.
What? Said Rabbit.
15?
15 what?
Your family.
What about them? Pooh rubbed his nose. and said that he thought Rabbit had been talking about his family. "Did I?" said Rabbit. "Yeah."
Yeah. You said...
Oh, never mind, Pooh.
said Piglet impatiently.
The question is, what are we to do about Kanga?
Oh, I see,
said Pooh.
The best way,
Said Rabbit.
would be this. The best way would be to steal Baby Roo and hide him. And then when Kanga says, "Where's Baby Roo?" we say, "Aha!"
Aha!
Said Pooh, practicing.
Aha! Aha! Of course,
He went on.
we could say aha, even if we hadn't stolen Baby Roo.
Pooh, said Rabbit, kindly, you haven't any brain,
I know.
said Pooh, humbly.
We say, "Aha," so that Kanga knows that we know where Baby Roo is. Aha means we'll tell you where Baby Roo is if you promise to go away from the forest and never come back. Now, don't talk while I think.
Pooh went into a corner and tried saying,
Aha! Aha!
in that sort of voice. Sometimes it seemed to him that it did mean what Rabbit said, and sometimes it seemed to him that it didn't.
I suppose it's just practice.
He thought.
I wonder if Kanga will have to practice too so as to understand it.
There's just one thing.
Said Piglet, fidgeting a bit.
I was talking to Christopher Robin, and he said that a Kanga was generally regarded as one of the fiercer animals. I'm not frightened of fierce animals in the ordinary way, but it is well known that if one of the fiercer animals is deprived of its young, it becomes as fierce as two of the fiercer animals, in which case, aha is perhaps a foolish thing to say.
Piglet, said Rabbit, taking out a pencil and licking the end of it. You haven't any pluck.
It's hard to be brave,
said Piglet, sniffing slightly.
when you're only a very small animal.
Rabbit, who had begun to write very busily, looked up and said, It is because you are a very small animal that you will be useful in the adventure before us. Piglet was so excited at the idea of being useful that he forgot to be frightened any more. And when Rabbit went on to say that kangas were only fierce during the winter months, being at all other times of an affectionate disposition, he could hardly sit still. He was so eager to begin being useful at once.
What about me?
Said Pooh sadly.
I suppose I shan't be useful?
Never mind, Pooh.
Said Piglet comfortingly.
Another time, perhaps.
Without Pooh, said Rabbit solemnly as he sharpened his pencil, the adventure would be impossible.
Oh,
said Piglet, and tried not to look disappointed. But Pooh went into a corner of the room and said proudly to himself,
Impossible without me. That sort of bear.
now listen, all of you.
said Rabbit when he had finished writing, and Pooh and Piglet sat listening very eagerly with their mouths open. This was what Rabbit read out. Plan to capture Baby Roo. 1. General remarks. Kanga runs faster than any of us, even me. 2. More general remarks. Kanga never takes her eye off Baby Roo except when he's safely buttoned up in her pocket. 3. Therefore, if we are to capture baby Roo, we must get a long start because Kanga runs faster than any of us, even me. See point number 1. Point 4. A thought. If Roo had jumped out of Kanga's pocket and Piglet had jumped in, Kanga wouldn't know the difference because Piglet is a very small animal. Point 5. Like Roo. Point 6. But Kanga would have to be looking the other way first so as not to see Piglet jumping in. Point 7. See point 2. Point 8. Another thought. But if Pooh was talking to her very excitedly, she might look the other way for a moment. Point 9. Then I could run away with Roo. Point 10. Quickly. Point 11. Kanga wouldn't discover the difference until afterwards. Well, Rabbit read this out proudly, and for a little while after he had read it, no one had said anything. And then Piglet, who had been opening and shutting his mouth without making any noise, managed to say very huskily, "Ed, afterwards?" "How do you mean?" "When Kanga does discover the difference?"
Then we say, aha.
"All 3 of us?" "Yes."
Oh.
"Why? What's the trouble, Piglet?"
Nothing, said Piglet. As long as we all 3 say it. I don't mind, he said, but I shouldn't care to say aha by myself. I wouldn't want to sound nearly so well. It wouldn't sound good just with me. By the way, he said, you are quite sure about what you said about the winter months?
"The winter months?"
Yeah, about them only being fierce in the winter months?
"Oh, yes, that's all right. Well, Pooh, you see what you have to do,"
No,
said Pooh Bear.
not yet.
He said,
What do I do?
"Well, you just have to talk very hard to Kanga so as she doesn't notice anything.
Oh. What about?
Anything you like."
You mean like telling her a bit of poetry or something? That would be poetry.
"That's it," said Rabbit. "Splendid. Now, come along." So they all went out to look for Kanga. Kanga and Roo were spending a quiet afternoon in the sandy part of the forest. Baby Roo was practicing very small jumps in the sand and falling down mouse holes and climbing out of them, and Kanga was fidgeting about and saying, "Right, just one more jump there, and we must go home." And at that moment, who should come stumping up the hill but Pooh.
Good afternoon, Kanga.
Oi, good eye, Pooh. Look at me jumping,
Squeaked Roo, and fell into another mouse hole.
Hello, Roo, my little fellow.
"We're just going back home for a bit of a snack," said Kanga.
Good afternoon, Rabbit. Good afternoon, mate, Piglet.
Rabbit and Piglet, who had now come up from the other side of the hill, said good afternoon and hello, Roo, and Roo asked them to look at him jumping. So they stayed and they looked, and Kanga looked too.
Oh, Kanga!
Said Pooh, after Rabbit had winked at him twice.
I don't know if you're interested in poetry at all.
No, not really. Hardly at all,
Said Kanga.
Oh,
Said Pooh.
Roo dear. Right, just one more jump and then we must go home.
There was a short silence while Roo fell down another mouse hole. Go on, said Rabbit in a loud whisper behind his paw.
talking of poetry,
Said Pooh.
I made up a little piece as I was coming along, and It went like this. Now, let me see.
Crikey, said Kanga. Now, Roo dear.
You'll like this piece of poetry.
You'll love it.
Said Piglet. You must listen very carefully, said Rabbit.
So as not to miss any of it.
Said Piglet. Oh, crikey, yes, said Kanga, but she still looked at little baby Roo.
How did it go, Roo? How did it go, Pooh?
Said Rabbit. Pooh gave a little cough and began.
Lines written by a bear of very little brain. On Monday, when the sun is hot, I wonder to myself a lot. Now, is it true, or is it not, that what is which and which is what? On Tuesday, when it hails and snows, the feeling on me grows and grows, that hardly anybody knows if those are these or these are those. On Wednesday, when the sky is blue and I have nothing else to do, I sometimes wonder if it's true that who is what and what is who. On Thursday, when it starts to freeze and hoarfrost twinkles on the trees, how very readily one sees that these are whose, but whose are these? On Friday,
Crikey, yes, it is, isn't it? Said Kanga, not waiting to hear what happened on Friday. Just one jump, Roo dear, and we really must be going along. Rabbit gave Pooh a hurrying up sort of nudge.
talking of poetry,
Said Pooh quickly.
have you ever noticed that tree right over there?
Where?
Said Kanga. Now, Roo,
Right over there.
said Pooh, pointing behind Kanga's back. Now, said Kanga. Now, jump in, Roo dear. Let's go home. Right, you ought to have a look at that tree right over there, said Rabbit. Shall I lift you in, Roo? And he picked up Roo in his paws,
I can see a bird in it from here.
said Pooh.
Or is it a fish?
You ought to see that a bird from here, said Rabbit, unless it's a fish.
It isn't a fish, it's a bird.
Said Piglet. So it is, said Rabbit.
Is that a starling or a blackbird?
Said Pooh. That's the whole question, said Rabbit. Is it a blackbird or a starling? And then, at last, Kanga did turn her head to look, and the moment that when her head was turned, Rabbit said in a loud voice, In you go, Roo! And in jumped Piglet into Kanga's pocket, and off scampered Rabbit with Roo in his paws as fast as he could. Right. Now, where's Rabbit? Said Kanga, turning round again. Are you all right, Roo dear? Piglet made a squeaky Roo noise from the bottom of Kanga's pocket.
Rabbit had to go away,
Said Pooh.
I think he thought of something he had to go and see about. Suddenly,
All right, and Piglet?
I think Piglet thought of something at the same time. Suddenly.
Okay then, we must be getting home, said Kanga. Goodbye, Pooh. And in 3 large jumps, she was gone. Pooh looked after her as she went.
I wish I could jump like that.
He thought.
Some can and some can't. That's how it is.
But there were moments when Piglet wished that Kanga couldn't. Often, when he had had a long walk home through the forest, he had wished that he were a bird, but now he thought jerkily to himself at the bottom of Kanga's pocket.
If this is flying, I shall never really take to it.
And as he went up in the air, he said, Whoa, And as he came down, he said, ow! And as he was saying, oh, ow, ah, all the way to Kenga's house. Of course, as soon as Kenga unbuttoned her pocket, she saw what had happened. Just for a moment, she thought she might be frightened. And then she knew she wasn't, for she felt quite sure that Christopher Robin would never let any harm happen to Roo. So she just said to herself, right on then, if they're having a joke with me, I'll have a joke with them. Now then, Roo dear, she said as she took Piglet out of her pocket. Oh, it's time for Betty Boy, eh? Aha! Said Piglet, as well as he could after his terrifying journey. But it wasn't a very good aha, and Kanga didn't seem to understand what it meant. Right, bath time first, said Kanga in a cheerful voice. Aha! Said Piglet again, looking round anxiously for the others. But the others weren't there. Rabbit was playing with baby Roo in his own house and feeling more fond of him every minute. And Pooh, who had decided to be a Kanga, was still at the sandy place on the top of the forest, practicing jumps. I'm not at all sure, said Kanga in a thoughtful voice, that it would be a good idea to have a cold bath this evening. Would you like that, Roo, dear? Piglet, who had never really been fond of baths, shuddered a long, indignant shudder, and said in as brave a voice as he could, Kanga, I can see that the time has come to speak plainly. Aye, crikey, funny little Roo, said Kanga as she got the bath water ready. I'm not Roo, said Piglet loudly. I'm Piglet. I'm not an armadillo either. Yeah, right, yes, dear, said Kanga soothingly, and imitating Piglet's voice too. Right, yes, dear, said Kanga soothingly, and imitating Piglet's voice too. So clever of him. She went on as she took a large bar of yellow soap out of the cupboard. What will he be doing? What will he be doing next? Can't you see? Shouted Piglet. Haven't you got eyes? Look at me. Crikey, darling, I am looking Roo dear, said Kanga rather severely. And you know what I told you yesterday about making faces. If you go on making faces like Piglet, you will grow up to look like Piglet, and then think how sorry you'll be. And now then, into the bath, and don't let me have to speak to you about it again. But before he knew where he was, Piglet was in the bath, and Kanga was scrubbing him firmly with a large, lathery flannel. Ow! Cried Piglet. Let me out! I'm Piglet! Right, don't open the mouth, dear, or soap goes in, said Kanga. There, what did I tell you? You did it on purpose, spluttered Piglet as soon as he could speak again, and then accidentally had another mouthful of lathery flannel. Oh, it's right, dear. Don't say anything, said Kanga, and in another minute Piglet was out of the bath and being rubbed dry with a towel. Now, said Kanga, there's your medicine. And then bed. Wait, what do you mean, what medicine? Said Piglet. To make you grow big and strong, dear. You don't want to grow up small and weak like Piglet now, do you? Well then. At that moment, there was a knock at the door. Hello, come in, said Kanga, and in came Christopher Robin. Christopher Robin! Christopher Robin! Cried Piglet. Tell Kanga who I am. She keeps saying I'm Roo. I'm not Roo. I'm not Roo, am I? Christopher Robin looked at him very carefully and shook his head. You can't be Roo, he said, because I've just seen Roo playing in Rabbit's house. Crikey, said Kanga. Fancy that. Fancy my making a mistake like that.
There you are, said Piglet. I told you so. I am Piglet, a pig.
Christopher Robin shook his head again. Oh, you're not Piglet, he said. I know Piglet well, and he's quite a different colour. Piglet began to say that this was because he had just had a bath, and then he thought that perhaps he wouldn't say that, and he opened his mouth to say something else, and Kanga slipped the medicine spoon in and then patted him on the back and told him that it was really quite a nice taste when you got to it. I knew it wasn't Piglet, said Kanga. I wonder what bloke it could be. Perhaps it is some relation of Pooh's, said Christopher Robin. What about a nephew or an uncle or something? Kanga agreed that this was probably what it was and said that they would have to call it by some name. I shall call it Pootle, said Christopher Robin. Henry Pootle, for short. And just when it was decided, Henry Pootle wriggled out of Kanga's arms and jumped to the ground. To his great joy, Christopher Robin had left the door open. Never had Henry Pootle Piglet run so fast as he ran then, and he didn't stop running until he had quite gotten close to his house. But when he was 100 yards away, he stopped running and rolled the rest of the way home so he could get to his own nice, comfortable colour again. So, Kanga and Roo stayed in the forest, and every Tuesday Roo spent the day with his great friend Rabbit, and every Tuesday Kanga spent the day with her great friend Pooh, teaching him to jump, and every Tuesday Piglet spent the day with his friend Christopher Robin, so they were all happy again. Oh, who would have thought? Who would have thought that Winnie the Pooh or the 100-Acre Woods could be zoologically controversial? Who indeed? Still, I see denial is strong in the chat. You sit on a throne of lies. That's awesome. Okay, so just as a since it is completely and prevalently in mind, join myself and Paul for a two-man duo show tomorrow, the triumphant return of Sticks and Stones to the Vaudacity Network. What time did we say for that? Was it 9 o'clock or 9:30? We're going to get an answer on that real quick. And whatever, I'm going home. 9:30, okay. After Dancing with Dari, which is 7:30 tomorrow night. And then, of course, Feel Good music on Wednesday for Amanda on Demanda. And then Lovecast 90-something Thursday at 6 o'clock. That's my show. Join us, of course, on Thursdays, as always, for Lovecast, whatever number that is, on Thursday at 6 o'clock. Quick going back through the... yes, that is indeed the story that Hunter got his first nickname from. And... All right. It's adorable. Oh, and then there will be a picnic. There will be another picnic this coming Friday. All Disney music. And, of course, tune in for Christina Bielen's debut singing. The pressure's on now. It's been said in public. She will be participating in the group number at the very least. And, yeah. Didn't forget about Dari tomorrow. Tomorrow at 7:30. Did not forget. What did I say? It's 6:30. Oh, excuse me. It is Dancing with Dari is at 6:30 on Tuesday. She's confusing me with all this consistency and the same times and stuff. Whew, hard to keep track. Thank you, Zach. I had a really good recording session last week. Yeah, and we will have stuff to listen to together as a product of that very soon. And thank you all very much for joining us this evening. If you're feeling generous and or so inclined, please drop something in the virtual tip jar down here. And as always, I collect interesting questions the way some people collect stamps and other people collect baseball cards. So, what's a good one that you've pondered recently or since childhood or whatever? Drop that question into askhunteranything@gmail.com. And as always, keep your eyes open, keep reading. I love you all. See you soon.